This episode was previously recorded in front of an imaginary studio audience.
Time for fun, Knife Friday!
Hi, all you knife cutters out there. Welcome back to Skip the Show's Fun Knife Friday. Hopefully we won't get interrupted and we'll finally be able to talk about dive knives.
We got that PSA, Skip.
Alright, fine. Right after this special announcement, we'll talk about dive knives.
And now for this brief public service announcement.
Well, hi, Jake. How you been doing?
Great, Bob!
Hi, boys and girls. Joe Fowl. Yeah, come on, Bob. Back at you again, and I'm here with Jake. I was just going to ask good old Jackalope Jake here if he wants to go to a national park with me.
What about the Bears, Bob?
Are you worried about the Bears?
Not looking good at the preseason.
No, I'm not worried about that bear. You know, the bears that eat people, not those bears from Chicago that can't play football.
Not at all, Bob. I'm with you.
Oh, you're not worried about them bears either. Well, why not, Jake? Aren't you worried about being caught by a bear?
Not at all, Bob.
You think you can outrun a bear?
Don't need to outrun the bear. Just need to outrun you, Bob.
That's not very nice, Jake. Anyway, I'm not worried about it either. You know why? Because I may not be able to outrun good old Jackalope Jake here, but I can outrun my picnic basket. So when I go to a national park, I always bring a picnic basket. Because I can't outrun a bear, but I can outrun a picnic basket. Just another helpful tip in case you're going to a national park and you don't want to be eaten by a bear. Bring yourself a picnic basket. You can't outrun a bear, but you can outrun a picnic basket.
This public service announcement was brought to you by the Don't Get Eaten by a Bear Foundation in partnership with Knife Chats with Tobias.
Are you rolling again? Alright, great. So, dive knives and why they belong in the Volcano Club. Well, we got this whole tropical theme going, so why not have diving knives on one of the walls? I think that'd be pretty cool. Put this up with the good old net like so. Might look pretty cool. So that's why we got diving knives. Now, have I ever gone diving? Well, no, I've never gone diving, and done a little snorkeling, but I tell you what, I did not have a knife strapped to me when I was snorkeling because, well, quite frankly, I think it might have freaked out the other people in the swimming pool. Yeah, I don't think they'd care too much about me with a knife in the swimming pool. Man, I would love to go swimming with a bullet. Never mind, we won't go into that song. Anyway, diving knives might look pretty cool. So I don't think it's so much that the Volcano Club is a dive, it's just that, yeah, diving knives, tropical theme, might look pretty cool. It'll look good with the other things like the bolos and the machetes and all those things, but we'll have a wall with some diving knives on it. That'll be pretty cool. And this one here, this is from a classic company. It's the Winoka diving knife, and I found out a little bit about diving knives. First of all, I learned everything I needed to know about diving knives by watching Sea Hunt. Yep, buddy. All I had to do was watch that show and I figured out everything I needed to know about a diving knife. And the first thing I found out about it was, well, Lloyd Bridges, the character, Mike Nelson, he knew how to choose a great diving knife. And I'll show you the diving knife he used. And it wasn't by Winoka. Here it is. Tobias has one. I don't think he realizes it. He calls it his Camilla's Mark II fighting knife. Well, it's also the U.S. Navy utility knife. Or U.S. Navy utility knife looks just like this. But it came with some kind of plastic sheath or something. Big old heavy nylon kind of hard plastic sheath that the Navy was using in World War II. And that's the knife that Mike Nelson dived with. And so, you know, it's got a carbon steel blade and it's got a leather handle. And he was diving with this knife. And, you know, if Mike Nelson is diving with this knife and sea hunt, then you know it's a good knife to dive with. And I think a lot of people out there are going, wait a minute. Carbon steel blade, leather handle, saltwater, diving. Bad idea. And I guess it is a bad idea, but apparently all you do is when you get out of the salt water, you immediately take the knife and you put it through a cold fresh water bath, and you rinse it off really good, dry it off, and then you'll oil the snot out of it. Just oil everywhere on it and condition the leather again, and then you're ready for the next dive. And I guess that's what Mike Nelson must have been doing with his number 2 or Mark II Navy utility knife, because that's what he started off with before he moved on to I think a U.S. diver's knife that had like a guard for the knuckles and all sorts of stuff. And it became a more purpose-made knife for divers. But diving people didn't really have a good knife to dive with until like the 60s or so. And I think Sea Hunt with Mike Nelson might have actually pushed that sport over the wall, so to speak, or into the deep, so that knife companies and companies with scuba gear and everything started looking at, let's make a good diving knife. And that's where Winoka comes in. And so here we have a Winoka diving knife. This is purpose-made for divers. And as you can tell, it's not completely stainless steel. Maybe you can't tell, but if you look right there real close, see all that? That nut, or these 2 nuts, are rusted like crazy. So you'd have to put a lot of stuff on there to break those nuts loose and get that knife out of there. But that's not important because it still holds the knife in place. I probably will do something to get some rust off of there, or tell Tobias to do something to get some rust off of there before I get it displayed on the wall in the Volcano Club. You got this button here to release the knife. You push the button down and then the knife comes out. Not easy to do when looking at the camera and everything else. You push it, comes out, and you got a nice shiny blade. Look at how shiny that blade is. And you saw it got a name on there, Blackie Collins. Well, this knife did not belong to Blackie Collins, but apparently Blackie Collins is some kind of knife guru who does all sorts of knife designs and stuff. And the fellow was crazy about designing diving knives. So all sorts of diving knives were created by Blackie Collins. And you see all sorts of things here. This is the thing right up in front here. That's for cutting line. And I think it's so you can get out of nets and stuff like that. This has got a nice point on it. This part is dull, so it's a, what do they call that? A swedge or something. But you do have some choppy portion up here, or serrated portion up here. And you also got some really aggressive serrations down at the bottom here. And then you got a clip point on there. And the handle is over molded and feels really good. And then you got the thing where it's all screwed together at the bottom there. And if you notice, this thing moves freely. And that's the thing that holds it into the sheath. And the sheath can strap to your leg or whatever. I think this one was modified. I think it had something down here too, so you could double strap it to something. But the knife, it goes in this way, and it goes in that way. The sheath don't mind. Either way, you can shove that blade in there. And the blades are made with some kind of like 318 steel or something like that. Some really low number. So it won't rust. And that's the key. So it's really like a really, as far as the knife community would be concerned, it's a really crap steel, because it's like a 300 series steel. That's softer than the 400 series steel. So I don't know all that crap. But in any case, you see there's a hole there, so the sheath will drain and everything. Slip the knife in, it snaps, it doesn't fall out. The only way you can get it out is by pushing that button. and you push the button, and then your knife is free and you can actually do something with it. So really cool knife by Winoka. Now let's take another look at another diving knife. Let's see, where is it at? This one here, I love the color of these things. Bright zombie green, so I guess this is in case you're diving into zombie seas or something. You got your zombie green. And pops out easy enough. It's got a little click on the back here, and you got a notch here and a notch here on either side. So once again, you can put the knife in on either side, and you can see there's all sorts of holes in the sheath so it won't retain water. You got a big old clip on the back here, plus you got all these straps so you can hook on rubber bands or something so you can strap it to yourself. But it comes out really easy, and if you notice, the blade tip looks broken, and that's because this is so you can actually pry with it. Apparently skin divers and stuff like to pry stuff up, but it's so you can pry with it, and also I guess it's a little bit like a screwdriver tip, so you can do something like that. You still got the line cutter there. You got some serration up on top there, and then you got a nice flat edge here, or whatever you call it, fine edge or plain edge, whatever you call it on that end. And it's just a nice little knife that you can fit in there, and then when you get back on the boat, you can pop a brewski with it. That's better than the old Winoka there, because this one you can pop a brewski with. But this one doesn't have any guard, so your hand could slip up on it. But that's the way they do them now. A lot of them have a tip broken off like that, so that you can pry with it. I guess that's because a lot of them used to pry with them and they break the tip anyway, so let's just pre-break the tip to begin with. And I got another one here. This one here, I think Tobias has shown this before, but I just like the box, so the box is definitely coming over. That's the Orca, and this is by Rough Rider. Yeah, even Rough Rider. Somewhere in Tennessee, what's his name there? Gotta think of his name. Pipes. Kevin Pipes actually did a lot of the designing on this knife. Kevin Pipes, some guy who does fishing, but not so much diving. I don't think he does skin diving, but he's responsible for a lot of the knife here. And again, it's I think it came with some big old straps on it, but the straps are gone. And you just push on it, opens up, and you see there it's got a really big old line cutter there, or net cutter. You got some serrations going on there. Let's do it this way. See that? You see those serrations? And then it's got a sharp edge on the bottom there. And again, it's the pry bar. Now he made two other versions of this knife that were pointy. They were some kind of shark name, but this one was the Orca. And a cool thing about this one is you got this little thing here, and that's a really strong magnet, so you can actually just click it to the side of your tank if you need to, or anything else that's metal. Now, the really cool thing about diving knives these days is there's another group of people who are really crazy about diving knives for some reason, and that's those folks that go around riding in that weird little boat that's all covered up, so it makes them look like they're just a part of the boat. I think they call it a kayak or something like that. Yeah, kayakers, for some reason, like diving knives. And I guess it's in case they get flipped over or something, they have a knife so they can cut themselves free in case they get stuck on something. So that's the other thing that uses it. And the other people who go out in the water doing silly, crazy things, you know, where they're trying to look at sharks or just trying to ride on a board or something like that. Hey, surfing, that's not, surfing is the life for me. It's the only life for me. Yeah, something like it. Anyway, I guess surfers might like these kind of things too. I don't know. But anyone in and around water could probably use a diving knife. But yeah, probably shouldn't take them to the swimming pool. Probably not a good idea to be using them in a swimming pool. But if you do water sports of some kind, and I'm not talking about those water sports, if you do water sports around large bodies of water, have you ever thought about carrying a diving knife? Let me know. What else could you use? Who else could use a diving knife besides a skin diver? Oh, and one last one. One last one. Would you look at this thing? This is a diving blade that was made by Blackie Collins again. He designed the blade. And it's like 308 or 318 steel or something like that. And you got a brass guard there, a bamboo handle, and some kind of funky tip on the back here. And this is something that Tobias has been fiddling with for about a month now. I don't think he knows it, but this one's coming over to the Volcano Club too, because bamboo and skin diving and a knife, yeah, it just belongs in the Volcano Club. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you liked hearing about the knives that Mike Nelson would really like. And if you ever drop by the Volcano Club, come on by with a diving knife and maybe we can stick it on the wall for you. Skip out. There you have it, Knife Chatter. Another Fun Knife Friday in the books. Remember, if your knife's not fun, you're doing it wrong. Skip out.
If your knife's not fun, you're doing it wrong, and Skip Out are registered trademarks of Skip the Show Enterprises. This has been a Cat Production presentation. All rights reserved.